All right, so apparently Andrew Tate, who I assume everybody knows who Andrew Tate is at this point. I mean, the guy blew up, what is it, a year ago, a year and a half ago on the internet. Um, Kind of been called a a misogynist. Jesus, I don't know why I can't say that word. Um, for being, I guess, that a lot of people think he's critical on women, and um, I think just in general, like sort of like a tough love kind of person. At least that's how I see him. He's pretty much like the pull yourself up by your bootstraps kind of person. Um, Apparently, he's also become Muslim recently. Yeah, I don't know in the last, I don't know if it's in the last 6 months or something like that, but apparently he was, I don't know if he was religious before, but he was started talking sort of like I guess he was Christian. He's talking about God and stuff and Jesus, and now apparently he's Muslim now. Um, so I don't know, but yeah, he dropped, or Piers Morgan rather, has interviewed him and dropped another interview. Now I think he's done on Piers Morgan. This is his third one. He did like one shortly after being canceled because he was removed from social media, from uh, banks. He had his accounts closed. Like he couldn't. I think his credit cards or whatever. Like he couldn't do anything. So, like this guy's made a lot of money. He's from what I understand, he's living in Romania. He has multiple businesses there. I believe he owns like a casino or something, or a part owner of a casino. He also owns some like webcamming businesses or something in Romania. He was before that he was like a fighter. In, what was it, Muay Thai? Kickboxing. Kickboxing. Shit, I don't remember. Okay, well he was a professional fighter before like the UFC, and I guess he made some good money. I think I heard him in in another interview saying he made like $500,000 max a fight before UFC, etc., etc. So, anyways, but now he's known for this type of this thing. So, being outlandish, saying things like men should lead, women should be like subservient to a man, or at least not the leaders in a relationship. Um, yeah, so Piers Morgan has interviewed him after the cancellation. That was kind of a one-sided interview, let's say, uh, where I don't know. Piers did a lot of talking and Andrew didn't do much, but I think, or couldn't get too many words in, but um, at least that was my take on it. And then they did one, I think, like on a remote where he was at home or something. And I don't know, that one, I can't remember exactly what it was on. I think they talked a bit about Twitter, like Elon Musk buying Twitter and whatever. But yeah, I'm curious to see what this one is about. So let's start it up and take a listen.
Tonight on PiersMorgan Uncensored, who's been called the most infamous man on the internet. Andrew Tate is certainly one of the most Googled people on the planet.
Why do they always use these pictures where he's like smoking a cigar, or he has like smoke coming out of his mouth, and like it's like, why don't they just take like a normal picture? They did the same thing before too. It's like, what? It just makes him look like he's some kind of, I don't know, extra badass or something. At least that's the perception, I guess. And look, there's some chick behind him, like passed out or sleeping. In the back corner here, I don't know.
Year, more than 17 million people watched his first interview on this show. And tonight, he's back.
A nice car. It's a Mercedes.
Live from London, this is
I generally like
Piers
Piers Morgan.
Uncensored.
Don't agree with him all the
Well, good
time.
evening,
but I
London.
like
Welcome to Piers Morgan Uncensored. Have you ever heard of Mr. Beast? What about PewDiePie? How about Keemstar, Logan Paul, Jake Paul? The answer might well be no. You haven't heard of them. But if you've got kids, you will definitely have heard of them. And they most certainly have. They're just a tiny handful of the legions of digital personalities whose videos are viewed by literally billions of young people across the world. Their endorsements are worth millions in sales. Their opinions can instantly reshape conversations in schools, universities, and across social media. They're more influence than most musicians, soap stars, sports stars, columnists, lawmakers. But unlike those power
YouTube
brokers of the
influencers.
past, the politicians and cultural stars who could set the social agenda, these people seem to exist in a parallel universe. Their views go largely unchallenged, shared only as bite-sized clips. Their digital businesses often operate beyond the scrutiny of...
Okay, so now I see why they brought Andrew Tate on, because even though Andrew Tate, at least how he's setting it up, even though Andrew Tate got booted off YouTube, he lost all his channels, he doesn't have access to any social media, like everybody clips the shit out of his videos, or previous videos, and they're just shared online, and generally it's like a 30-second clip of him saying something usually outlandish, and people being like, oh, he destroyed this person, or oh my God, he's such a misogynist, look what he said. And it's always just like clips. And so technically he's gone, but it's like you're just constantly seeing his face regardless.
normal journalists and even regulators. They wield massive influence over young people, and they're restricted only by the ever-changing whims of big tech companies. It makes no more sense than senators or secretaries of state simply never appearing on television. Well, my guest tonight is a perfect case in point, an example of both enormous digital conquest and the risks that come with it. He's Andrew Tate. His last interview with me has so far been viewed, well, over 8 million times on YouTube alone, and 17 million times across all platforms, which is
He's
staggering
so stoic.
for someone who perhaps you're watching and thinking, who is Andrew Tate? It was a robust exchange. And Andrew Tate was here because he'd effectively been kicked off the mainstream internet for supposed misogyny. His tirades against women were viewed literally billions of times. Well, the first time around, I wanted to find out if he deserved to be banned and if he'd ever actually crossed a line from shocking opinions to genuine hate speech, or if he just didn't fit the ideal model of the platforms that censored him. Let's go through some.
Sure.
Right? Do you think women are the property of men?
No, the point I was making...
Why have you said they are?
Because I made a religious point.
Authority implies that you have the ability to control someone.
No, authority the authority implies that I have the moral right to sit and say that that's an irresponsible thing to do and I'm responsible for
That's not what authority means. I don't want to interrupt you. I just want to point out that's not what authority means.
If someone gives, a person can give
voluntary authority is not authority.
No, but that's the point. If
It's
a
not.
woman, Piers.
Andrew, it's not.
And this is the thing that's interesting, Piers. Please let me finish.
Yeah, but you're behaving like a politician. But hang on. You could say I'm interrupting.
You do.
But you're answering a different question to the one I asked you.
Fine.
No. You're weaponizing the weaponizing, which doesn't exist.
No problem. If someone comes to me and says I'm clinically depressed or I feel very, very sad, I would say the first thing you need to do is stop accepting the identity of a clinically depressed person. Stop accepting you have no control over this.
Andrew, you're simply wrong.
You know what? What he's saying, and I know Piers is saying you're simply wrong because there's more to the story, but just on the face of what he's saying, though, just in that short, like 5 seconds, is that if you say you're depressed, like sometimes people just feel like there's no hope, well, because I guess they're depressed, but there's really something to be said about having a positive mindset. Like if you can keep a positive mindset, or at least try to pull out the positive parts of what you're going through. So like you're having this shitty ass time and everything just like sucks. Like you got no money, your partner left you, I don't know, your dog died. But maybe you made a really good meal or something. I don't know. But you can like just focus on the positive things or think about, well, you know what? I'm gonna go to the gym and I've lost weight or something, like something positive that's happened to you, or at least look forward to look, everything is so shitty right now, but at least in the future, it can be better. I think that that's generally where Andrew Tate is going. If you guys have seen any of his stuff, is things can really suck, but it can always get better and keep a positive mindset. And you got to work hard. You got to work hard at it. So yeah, you lost your girlfriend, you can get another one, or you lost your boyfriend, whatever, you can get another one. Yeah, maybe you're divorced, but you know what? After you go through all that legal crap, you know what? You'll be free, and maybe it was a bad relationship or whatever. I think he's got valuable, like, some of the things he said are valuable. Like, there's truth in it. I think he presents it badly, though. Generally, how he talks about it is just so inflammatory.
If that's what you believe, Piers,
That's
it's
what I
fine.
believe.
I don't believe in things that take power away.
There is not an eminent doctor in the world
Piers,
that would agree with you.
Piers,
Do you think you know more than doctors?
I can't become clinically depressed
Why do you know?
because I don't believe in it.
It's a lively stuff. I also wasn't sure.
I think he also said at one point that ghosts can't haunt. He used the example that ghosts can't haunt him or something, or he can't be scared by ghosts because he doesn't believe in them. But somebody who believes in ghosts, like they're going to be like freaked out about ghosts. But I mean, it's kind of the same concept. Like, well, I can't get cancer because I don't believe in it. It's just presented in a stupid way, but I know what he's saying. Like, if you don't believe in depression, you're not gonna. You might feel like, oh, I'm feeling shitty. He probably just wouldn't classify it as I'm depressed. He would just be like, well, I'm doing really shitty. And maybe somebody might call us depression, but I don't call it depression because depression is something that I can't fix or I can't really affect much, maybe, is how he's viewing it. So if I don't call it depression, then I still have my control.
Sure if I should be interviewing him at all. If he was so unpleasant, as so many people said, well, why extend his profile and give him a platform? But the fact is that ship had already sailed. Every teenager in the country knows Andrew Tate.
That's true. All the kids, you hear this from so many people now, that their kids have seen clips of Andrew Tate and they ask about Andrew Tate. So
It's just a lot of the parents who don't. Since that interview, Andrew has been returned to Twitter. This new owner, Elon Musk, is determined to protect free speech online. Many young people, especially boys, have literally stopped me in the street since that first interview to ask me about Andrew Tate. I've been staggered, honestly, by the response that I've had. What does it say about society that people like Andrew Tate can reach so many more people than conventional stars or journalists even? Who gets to decide where the line is and whether people like Andrew Tate cross it? Are they part of a poorly understood movement that panders to teenage rebellion like punk rock or pornography? Or are we exposing young people to new and damaging experiences we often don't see and don't understand? It's a whole new world. There are more questions about it than answers, and we're not going to answer them by pretending it doesn't exist. Well, Andrew Tate joins me again now. Andrew, good to see you.
Salam alaikum, Piers.
Good to see you.
Yeah, see? Assalamu alaikum, Andrew. This is tradition, and he was traditional Muslim greeting. See, this is what I mean. I think he became Muslim, and I don't know, in the last few months or something. So, assalamu alaikum, he said. There you go. If you start saying like, peace be upon him, whenever he mentions like Jesus or Muhammad or like Moses, like any of those prophets from the biblical stuff, then yeah, he's full in.
Genuinely been amazed by the reaction I've had in the streets. Not just here, but I went to Qatar for the World Cup, had the same thing there. A lot of people coming up about Cristiano Ronaldo, obviously, but also a lot of people coming up about you. And they were almost exclusively men, young men, who genuinely see you as a role model, as somebody who inspires them, as somebody they want to be like.
Yep.
So it made me think. The first interview you had was quite combative. The second time, a shorter interview, less so. I want to try and work out in this one who you are, because it struck me as extraordinary that Google this week revealed some stats for the year. The #1 person whose name followed people Google searching who is in 2022 was Andrew Tate.
Yeah, that's quite remarkable. I think there's a whole swath of the population, especially young.
And it's funny. It's funny. Sorry to pause it again. It's funny because he constantly brings this up in like interviews and podcasts that he does. I don't know if he'll bring it up here, but he's like, "I'm the most popular man in the world, or the most famous man in the world," or whatever he says. And he just casually drops it, and generally nobody says anything. They're just like, just keep going. It's like, "I'm the most famous man in the world."
Men that feel disenfranchised. They feel disenfranchised with the media machine and the things they're supposed to believe. They don't feel an affinity with the educational systems or the culture. And they look at a person like me who stands up and says the things that many young men think. I haven't put a magic spell on the world. The fact that people like what I say means that they agree with me deep inside. They may be afraid to say it themselves, but I am seen as a bastion of free speech and a bastion for masculinity as a whole, because a lot of men are largely forgotten about.
Do you think you're a force for good, or are you a force in evolution where perhaps you've done and said stuff you shouldn't have done, and as you get older, perhaps as you get bigger, more followed around the world, you sense a responsibility perhaps you didn't have early on?
Well, we all evolve. Every human evolves day by day. You wouldn't be human if you didn't evolve on an hour-by-hour basis. But I do not think I'm a force for good. I absolutely not really know I'm a force for good, because I'm a force for truth. And truth is a good thing. Without truth, we're going to end up in absolute tyranny and slavery, and we're already on our way there. I feel like we're starting to combat it. My cancellation was the beginning of a change.
Okay, so this whole truth thing he's talking about, but the truth thing works if what he's saying is actually true, right? But if, like, he doesn't know everything, he can't possibly know everything. It's like those Venn diagrams people draw, right? With the it's a Venn diagram, isn't it? With the two circles, and then in the middle is like what you know. Actually, that's not even at all what I want to talk about. But you could think of all the knowledge in the world. This is totally different. Forget what I just said. You can think about that all the knowledge in the world is like that, like a circle, and then how much you know, and you put like a dot basically there. So sure, maybe he's only speaking on things that he actually knows, but I don't like. I don't know if he's always staying within his expertise, and I think there's like, you end up in this position. People end up in this position a lot. Like, we all do it, where we're like, "Oh, this is the truth. This is the truth," and it's just kind of like what you think should be true, because many people have different ideas on what, like, how people should behave, and they all, or if we're taking people's behavior as an example, and we all like just have our own version of, like, this is the true way you should do it. And even if you take it from a religious context, because he's Muslim right now, he's going to say this is the truth based on his religious beliefs, and then you have all these other religions that are just going to be like, excuse me, actually, we have a different take on that, and we think this is true.
In public consciousness, Elon having Twitter is another beginning of the change in public consciousness. And anybody who stands up and speaks what they truly believe, even if it's something I don't personally agree with, I think that truth is absolutely important. And people's personal truths and people's personal opinions, even on differing sides of the same opinion, should be heard.
Tell me about your life. You were born.
This is the thing. Yeah, it's like somebody's personal truth. So, okay, I guess that's what he's saying his thing is. Because he didn't say personal truth for himself. When it was for other people, it's personal truth, but he just says, I'm saying the truth. So I'd be curious to know if he believes it's his personal truth.
Born to a mixed race couple. Your father was an African American, a chess player.
Yeah.
And your mother,
that's interesting.
She was from this country.
Correct. Yeah. So my father was black chess player. He was in the Air Force. He met my mother here in England, and then I was raised initially in the United States, and then I moved to Luton, England when I was younger. So I've moved around a lot. I've lived an eclectic life in many different scenarios. We've moved around. I've done a lot of different things, lived a lot of different experiences.
How to get with the smoking.
And,
what nationality are you? I mean, what do you identify as?
I consider myself British now, but I will say that part of the patriotic Britain side of me is devastated by the state of the UK currently, and I want to make that very clear. The patriotic Britain me truly loves this country. and seeing what's happening to it, especially to our major cities, is almost heartbreaking to watch in real time.
In what way?
It's falling apart. This is a failed society. By every metric you can possibly measure, it is absolutely and utterly failing. The cost of living crisis, the crime rates, everything is falling apart. If you compare it to a country like the United Arab Emirates, you compare it to a city like Dubai, London, which should be the greatest city on earth, is failing in absolutely every metric because our leadership is a joke. If you look at Dubai and the UAE, the leadership there is so flawless, so genuinely genius. They saw
Dubai and the UAE. Okay, I don't know enough about it, but it, from what I've heard, don't they like treat people who are not their citizenry like second class? And I don't know. Okay, I guess I have to look more into it, but
ahead and have built almost a utopia. And then you look at London, you can't even walk around with a watch on. It's disgusting.
You know, it's very interesting. I was in Qatar for the World Cup. Obviously, a lot of people in England taking a very censorious moral view about the World Cup being in the Middle East at all because of their laws against homosexuality, because of their treatment of migrant workers. I've got to say...
Yeah, that's what I was going to... Sorry, that's what I forgot to say. I think Dubai's a little bit like that too, right? Like migrant workers go there and they get paid much less. And I think if you're like an expat from a Western civilization, you generally get paid more, like, or there's a higher value put on you. But if you're coming from like India or the Philippines or, I don't know, Morocco, like somewhere in Africa, they're kind of treated like second-class citizens or third-class citizens. So I don't know. I like to think like in North America, I guess we do that a bit too, like with the States and Mexico or whatever. But I like to think we're more fair.
Not that I don't share the concerns about those things. Of course I do. But I found a lot of the virtue signaling, and I think that's what it was in many cases, about the whole region actually quite distasteful. Because when I was in Qatar, I thought the World Cup was fantastically well run, incredibly good experience. But a lot of Qataris were saying to me, you know, there's this weird, quaint feeling back in your country that we all want to aspire to behave like that we all want to live in a country with massive drug problems, with massive knife crime issues, with scenes like the European Championships final where it's complete lawlessness going on, where stuff like the NHS, the system of healthcare, is basically collapsing, where the education system is dropping behind, so on and so on and so on. And it's a really interesting perspective. They were like, I know you all think that we want to have your form of democracy and your form of life, but actually, we're fine, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's a failed society, and it's godless. I think it's disgusting. We leave our old people to rot in old people's homes, and then we sit there and say we don't have enough money for nurses. I understand this nurse strike very well and how frustrating it can be if you walk into a hospital and the nurse is not prepared to work. But the nurses would be prepared to work at the current wage if they believed this country was spending its money prudently. When you see this country spending its money and just absolutely wasting it, pulling out of thin air to fund proxy wars, God knows where, that has nothing to do with them. Of course, as a nurse, you're going to stand up and say, well, can't I get a pay rise? This country has failed on every metric. And especially our major cities. I've just come to London now. I made it very clear to my private jet pilot. I said, fuel the jet and leave it running. Because the second I'm finished talking to Piers, I'm leaving this cesspit. It's disgusting.
What the frick? Is this leaving this cesspit? Oh my God. People say that about Washington too, right? In the States, so like it's a cesspit of scum and villainy. Oh God, he even talked about the nurses thing. So I'm in Canada, and like here, it's ridiculous. Like people that come to or take go to school to be nurses, or just the healthcare in general. It is so like underfunded. I don't know. They're just not, it's not paid enough. There's like huge wait lines. Like people don't want to work here. They, I mean, you're a Canadian citizen, right? So you're like, fine, I go to nursing school, or even like a doctor or an X-rayologist or whatever, technician, and they go to school for X amount of years. They start working. They don't get paid nearly as much as they get in the United States. We have crazy wait times. Like, I had an aneurysm when I was 19, 20. Not in my head though. It was another part of my body, in my leg actually. My artery got punctured. And basically, I could not get into surgery for 6 months, over 6 months. Basically, what ended up happening is they told me, hey, if it actually burst, because it was like a slow leak kind of thing, and I had like this big, um, well, bubble on the side of my leg or mound where the blood was just like pooling and like a blood clot right on my side of my kneecap, and uh, it was just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And they basically said like, well, if it like your artery like totally separates or bursts or whatever, right? Like it becomes critical, then tie a belt around your leg. What is that, tourniquet? When you make it to a tourniquet, I guess. Like tie the belt, stop the belt around your leg, stop the blood flow, and then like just go to the hospital and whatever. We'll do like an emergency thing. But other than that, I would have had to have, I would have to wait over 6 months to get the surgery. Now, we never got to that point. I think, I can't remember how many months. It was like 3, 4 months. I was trying to still work for this company. And then it just got to a point where I couldn't walk because my leg, like the pressure of the blood, whatever, was too much. I couldn't walk. So then I had to go get the surgery right away. Like I went to emergency and they said, oh, we'll fit you like into a slot. And I think it still took like 2 or 3 days. But like just like the healthcare system in my country, in Canada, is so underfunded that there's not enough resources for people to get operations, to get different surgeries. The nurses and stuff, like they're making, in general, my understanding is like 60 to 65,000 a year. And generally they start off on like bedside nursing, and apparently no one likes that. I don't know, I've never done it, but I can understand why they might not like it. And even doctors don't get paid as much, and they all would rather go to other countries. So they go to the States and they get paid more. Like people work down there. So we constantly have this huge shortage of nurses because it's just ridiculous. Socialized healthcare. I mean, it's great because we all have access to it. And quality, I don't know. I don't know what else to compare it to because I've never had to have surgery somewhere else. It's probably like average quality, I guess. But in terms of like wait times or access to it is ridiculous. And I can't even get a doctor, like a family doctor in my city. Every time I move, getting a family doctor is some huge ass wait list. Like I think I'm on a wait list right now for where I just moved. I want to say she told me there was 500 or 600 people in front of me. And it's like I called around to all these different doctors' offices, and it's like ridiculous. They all have these huge wait lists, like because there's no doctors. It's just okay. I'm ranting. I'm sorry. Let's get back to this.
This country and London as a whole 10 years ago was one of the most hospitable cities on earth. Now you cannot walk around safely with a watch on. And you're a full-grown man. You're a full-grown adult. When's the last time there's been a serious problem in your life that you completely ignored and it fixed itself? Never, ever. What are any of our politicians doing to fix any of the problems we're genuinely facing?
Well, I saw today that Sadiq Khan is planning to run again for the third term of office as mayor. All I can say is everyone I know who's had any experience of crime at any level in London in the last few years has had a bad experience of it, of the way it's been handled. I mean, I can give an example. I can reveal this now. I've talked for 18 months. I got a specific death threat on one of my son's Instagram pages in public, a public comment. And it was very specific about what this person was going to do. Yeah. I couldn't use the police to evade him. We know where you live. We're going to come and kill you. And then a second one threatening my son and his mother, my ex-wife. I called in the police. I thought, I'm not having them putting death threats on my son's life. Sure. I called the police. Police investigated this. They arrested somebody over a year ago. And then I heard from the police this week that despite 18 months of investigation, of a publicly posted comment on Instagram threatening to kill me, on my son's Instagram that they will not be able to pursue the case.
Now,
and I thought, imagine, I'm high profile. This was a front page of the Sun newspaper. This
if
story.
that same man called a transgender person the wrong pronouns, he would be in trouble.
Right.
So doesn't it just show how absolutely asinine and banal our legal system has become? That would never happen in a country like United Arab Emirates, the place I'm now residing in, Dubai, where the leadership has common sense. And I'm saying that all the leadership structures, doesn't matter if it's labor or conservative, across all of it in this nation have completely and utterly failed. Sadiq Khan is a loser. Because when you have a city which is losing, which London is losing in all metrics across its competitive cities around the world, and you're in charge of it, by extension, you're a loser. I will tell you right now, instead of virtue signaling and giving Qatar a hard time over their religious beliefs, what we should be doing is a treaty with Qatar to build a prison deep in the desert. Make me mayor of London. We'll make a prison deep in the desert. And if you're caught with a knife or robbing someone, you can go do 25 years with one meal a day in the scorching sun.
Okay, that's
and then what we'll
harsh.
do is we'll put cameras there and we'll interview you once a week and broadcast that out to the nation and see if you change your mind and make people understand that this is a country that should be respected and our laws should be respected. Instead, what happens? What has Sadiq or any of the people in charge of this country actually done to fix any of our issues besides sit around and talk? Nothing. None of them have done anything, but they seem ultra concerned with finding money for proxy wars, ultra concerned with rainbow flags in another country that is uninterested in them, and their priorities are completely messed up. Of course the ambulance people are. Of course the ambulance drivers are striking. Of course the nurses are striking. Nobody cares about the most important things in this nation. It's a failing country in real time, and that's why I've left.
Okay, like what he's saying there with the prison thing is super extreme, and I don't know if he's being bombastic on purpose. He's generally pretty bombastic, and likes to just rile things up, and I guess it gets views, right? So, but I think we can all agree, or we should all be able to agree that in certain countries we do things really good and we do things really bad or not as good. And I think we can look at everywhere in the world and see positives and negatives. So there is something to be said. I'm sure in Qatar they are doing some things good that we should adopt or consider adopting or changing to fit, our countries. Be like, oh yeah, here are some good ideas that we could take, and vice versa, things that they could take from us and put there. I don't think it's a all or nothing game. I think there's a lot of nuance in all of these things, just like as an individual. Do not agree with everything Andrew Tate says, clearly, but he does say some things that you're like, yeah, that's a good point, and maybe we should do something about it. Just like how he's raising the point now about them not caring about the healthcare, right? And so you have these strikes happening in the healthcare fields. It's true. It's one of the most important things, right? Is healthcare, education, people having jobs, being able to, having food, being able to have roofs over their heads, being able to look after their family. Those are some of the sort of the basic things. And when you have people worrying about, let's say, or it seems like anyways, that they're worrying about, trans rights or gay pride or whatever, and that or different, appeasing certain religious communities, messaging, oh, happy whatever day for certain religious communities, when they should be trying to do things that are maybe better for just everybody. Like, I guess it's one thing, like, you can say happy Hanukkah or whatever it is, right? And make that comment, but it just feels, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it feels like sometimes they spend too much time doing that other things aren't happening in the background, like for everybody. Because you could, it's fine. Go ahead and say happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, blah, whatever, happy Diwali, whatever it is. But be doing things that are good for everybody, getting the basics done right. Once you get the basics done right, then we can expand into some things that are maybe a little bit more niched or well, you know what I'm saying.
What about the specific allegation? By the way, I don't disagree with a lot of that because I do think this country is in big trouble. And I do think that one of the problems is people think if they do have a crime against them, nobody cares anymore.
I know nobody cares. I have specific examples and people who I know personally. Absolutely and utterly nobody cares. I was in Harrods yesterday and someone tried to rob someone's watch in the middle of the store. I walk around with I have a security team of 6 full-grown men, plus me and my brother, 8 military-age males, all over 110 kilos, big men, just so I can walk around this city. It's absolutely unacceptable.
What about the issue?
Yeah, but you're famous and you're super divisive or whatever. Like some people like totally hate you and would do some bullshit, so that makes sense. But for the average person, I mean, there might be like a mugger or something, but like nobody knows them. They're not going to just randomly attack them, but they're going to see Andrew Tate and they're going to be like, oh, that expletive, whatever. And they're going to like throw a milkshake on him or like try to punch him or something.
Of race. And I mentioned that in the context of the Harry and Meghan ongoing debate, their war with the royal family, war against the monarchy, their specific, constant references.
And they were
to
living
the fact
here in
that they
Canada
believe they've
too,
been driven out of
point.
here because of racism in Britain. What do you make of that debate?
That's absolute fallacy.
And you're from a mixed race
Correct.
background yourself.
Correct. I'm from a mixed race background myself, and while we're discussing the leaders of the UK, although I do think they're doing a terrible job, it's kind of hard for Meghan to say that the UK is a racist country when the leader of the UK is darker skinned than her and the mayor of London is darker skinned than her, and I am a person who's probably darker skinned than her, and I've never experienced any kind of bigotry against myself besides the fact I'm a straight male. I'll get bigotry for that before I'll get bigotry for my skin color. I think it's just a cop-out, and her not wanting to be perspicacious and self-reflective enough to understand that she has attacked an age-old institution, and there are people who are very patriotic about that institution, and by attacking it and bringing a degree of distaste to it, there's going to be people who don't like her. And if you're a dislikable person, you can't just instantly stand up and say it's because of my skin color. It might be because of your actions and some of the things you've said.
I mean, I think there's probably no doubt she's had racism on social media because it's
Who hasn't, Piers?
It's a cesspit.
You probably have.
Well, as I said just now, I've had death threats on social media, and no one seemed to care very much.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably inarguable. My issue with what they've both been doing is if
I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Who doesn't experience like bullshit comments on the internet? Oh my God. Like when I was 14, we well, something around that age. We got the internet and dialing up on a modem and just connecting to like play video games or whatever, like on battle.net or I don't even, yeah. I guess it was battle.net back then. And like already people were just ridiculous and oh my God, they just terrible. Like can say some of the worst things. It's like you would never do any of this stuff in public, but because you are now on the internet, it's fine. But you would never say it to that person in person. Or if you did, you would be like, you would say it and you would run because you'd be scared for what would happen. Like it's just so ridiculous.
If you're going to make allegations against an institution like the royal family and the monarchy, you've got to actually provide some evidence. You can't just spray gun this thing out there and say, well, somebody was racist.
Yeah, and airing dirty laundry is never going to be respected by the populace, and being a tattletale is never going to be respected by the populace. And I think the problem with the modern world we're living in is a lot of age-old traditions are being destroyed in real time. It doesn't matter what the tradition is. Most of them are being eroded. And something like the British royal family, which has been around for a very long time, is an age-old tradition. One of the things holding the UK together, one of the last things we have, to sit and detriment it and to sit and insult it and to give away secrets from inside of it and try and paint a negative image of it is going to upset a lot of people. And you have to be prepared for that backlash. You can't say I've done things that upset people, but it's nothing to do with what I've done. It's purely because of my skin color. Also, it's kind of ironic that she's doing that because she's not particularly dark-skinned. It's kind of funny to sit here.
I mean,
watch her sit.
And oh, that was a good time to freeze. Yeah, look at her. She looks almost in this picture, anyways. Looks almost as white as freaking Harry. Like maybe like a little bit like she went to Mexico for a few days and got a little bit of a tan, but she's basically white. Yeah, I don't know. To me, yeah, I agree with the points that they're making here. It's like, come on. If she was 100% white, let's say she's 100% like Harry, like white. I'm assuming he's 100% white. I don't know. I don't know what his gene pool, but and they came out and said the same things. It doesn't matter. People are going to say a bunch of bullshit to them anyways because they're like they're making the point because you disagree with what they're saying or you're upset that they're saying certain things. It doesn't matter. People will just say whatever they're going to say to hurt you in every way that they can. It's just that's so silly.
Sit and say,
Yeah,
race, race,
I
race.
think the truth is, I don't know what. Look, you can say that. I can't.
And then the fact that he could say that just because he's mixed race and Piers can't say that, again, another silly ass comment double standard. It's the same thing with like women saying like men shouldn't be able to talk about abortions or whatever because they can't have babies. It's like, oh my God. I think everybody can talk about anything. But maybe it's just you just look at it in a different way where it's like, look, this is my understanding of it, and I might not fully understand everything, but I can still have an opinion and still say it. It's the concept that you can't say stuff because you are not it or can't or haven't been able to experience it, like being pregnant or having a period, and then so you can't have an opinion on it. It's like telling a doctor who is a gynecologist and a man, he can't have an opinion on a period because he's a man. But I guess he's trained, so maybe they would accept that. But he's never actually experienced it. So when he says, this might be a little bit painful, they're like, you don't understand the pain, you've never had it. Okay, fair enough. But like we can do our best to simulate that, or not simulate it, but imagine it and like be like, oh, it'd probably be like this, or have some understanding of it. Otherwise, how does anybody ever get along? Like, how will non-black people in this case, if we're saying, well, this one should look a little bit darker, but still, whatever. How does if you have no mixed race in you or black in you or whatever, like we're just using black as the example here, how will we ever be able to talk about anything together if it'll always be, well, you can't talk about it because you don't understand because you're not black. It's okay. So then basically, why will we ever work together on this? Because apparently I don't ever understand, and you're the only one who's allowed to have an opinion on it. It's like you want to try to include the other people so we can like fix it together. But if you're always doing that, then nothing will ever happen. It doesn't make sense. It's just like pigeonholing yourself at like this. Like you're just screwing yourself from having other people working with you. Like you're just making it so much more difficult.
The reality of it is, I just don't know what the specifics of the racism she says she's had because we've not seen any evidence.
The universe is a funny place, Piers. If you're looking for something, you're going to find it, right? When I got canceled, when they attacked me unfairly, lied about me across the entire mainstream media, deleted me from social media so I couldn't defend myself, and lied about me repeatedly, I could have stood up and said, it's because I'm brown. I didn't do that. I sat and said, okay, there's people who misunderstand my message. My message is a positive one. People misunderstand me. Let me self-reflect and understand that, yes, perhaps this said a long time ago was said in the wrong way. Perhaps this was misunderstood. Perhaps people don't understand this. I could have just copped out and could have just been refusing to self-reflect on any level and said, it's because I'm brown, that's why they did it. But that's not the mature way to be as an adult.
What did you think of the Jeremy Clarkson furore where he wrote what I think most people, but including him belatedly after he'd published
they would have did it anyways.
The column.
That's the whole
he
point.
He did make an analogy from a Game of Thrones scene, which most people, I think, did find crossed a line and was deeply offensive. I think it crossed a line. What do you think?
Yeah, I understand why people feel that. But when you attack an institution as old as the British royal family, you're attacking patriotism in and of itself for one of the most respected countries, or previously most respected countries on earth, and you're going to have some visceral reactions. Perhaps Jeremy Clarkson is too famous and too well-renowned to say those kind of things, but there's a lot of people who genuinely feel that way, and that's why he said it. And this is what happens when you attack age-old institutions in any country.
Should he have apologized?
That's a good question. It looks like he did. Personally, I think as a man, you should stand up, say what you mean what you say. I don't think you should ever apologize for anything you've ever said. Even me.
What if you say something truly very offensive and you actually do regret it?
If you truly regret it, then yeah, okay, you can apologize. But if at the time you meant it, then the best thing you can do is say, look, I have just changed my mind. I no longer feel that way. But at the time, that's how I felt. And I'm the person who says what he feels. And that's what I felt at the time. And I apologize that offended you.
Well, apologizing that you offended somebody isn't really an apology, but I guess that's the point. Um, yeah, people change their minds, so I think you can say something. It's like even Chris Hart, right? Um, Kevin Hart. I mixed Chris Rock and Kevin Hart together. Chris Hart. Okay, no, I'm thinking Kevin Hart. Even like him with those comments that he said, what was it like 2011 or something, and then they didn't want him to host that award show, um, and he had like apologized about it. But I mean, like you can say things like the amount of things that we have all said as people, whether it's online or otherwise, and then you know, even like a month later, not even like years later, you're like, oh, I've changed my mind. Like I actually don't believe that, or I don't agree with what I said. That happens all the time. I'm sure things that I might even have said in this video, you know, maybe something will change later. Yeah, people are just too harsh on each other, and I think they just need to be more have a more charitable mindset. Like, let's try to take the more charitable, um, not opinion, but view. When somebody says something to you, try to look at it in a more charitable way and try to understand what exactly do they mean by that and have that conversation. But we don't ever do that because now everything's online and it's like, or so much is online and it's like, well, they sent a tweet that was 240 characters and that's all. You're not actually going to try to converse with that person generally, or you're going to respond back with some like crazy upset message.
Andrew Tate, we'll be back with you after the break. We'll talk to you about Twitter again. Elon Musk restoring you to his platform. Has it calmed you down? Are you as controversial on there? Are you mindful that you're only one false move like Kanye West, for example, away from being removed again? We'll talk about it after the break.
Although I tend not to use social media that much. It's like so much better not having it. But I gotta get Twitter just because Elon Musk took it or bought it. I had to get it just to see what was going to happen.
Well, Elon Musk has restored a throng of banned accounts that's taking over Twitter with a small commitment to free speech.
He restored Donald Trump, and I was following Donald Trump, and I was like, is he actually going to say something? I don't think he said anything because he's stuck on the Truth Social or whatever the hell he made.
It's also shown he has a line of his own, though. Conspiracy theorist Alex Jones remains banned. Kanye West was reinstated, then banned again for posting a swastika inside a Star of David. Andrew Tate is back too for now. Anyway, he was first removed in 2017 for saying women should bear some responsibility as victims of rape. And he hasn't exactly been shy since his reprieve. Let's take a look. Genghis Khan had endless women and 200 children as a reward for conquest. He tweeted on the most searched.
Why? What is this photo with his shirt off? Why? Have you ever seen those videos, or where they ask women like about dating profiles or just photos of like men, and they're like, "Hey, what do you think of this photo?" And he has his shirt off or a gym selfie or whatever, and women always say they're like, that's the worst. They're like, they don't like to see the shirt off photo, even if you're ripped well, I guess maybe there's supermodels or something they want to see like that, but in general the concept was they didn't like it. They were like, no, but maybe just to like lust after and look at, I don't know. Why is that your Twitter thing, man?
Man on the planet. I've conquered Earth. I'm the highest status male on the planet. Females do not expect loyalty from me. They only expect that of lesser men.
See, okay, this is kind of like what he was saying. When I earlier in the video when I was saying that he says he's the most famous man on the planet. This is similar. I'm the most searched man. I am the highest status male on the planet. Like, it's just so casual. This is a red pill shit too, because He's like, women do not expect loyalty from me. So I guess I'm gonna read that out like he can cheat and just sex up a bunch of women and then have like 200 children or whatever the hell. He's gonna-
10. Then there was this. Imagine having less than 10 children because you're a who doesn't have 4 wives. Genetic failure.
Okay, I don't know what I think I know what he was probably saying there. 4 wives. 4 wives is the max you can have in Islam, is per my understanding. So maybe that's why he's bringing it up. If I could have 4 wives, or even if I could have 1 wife, would I want 10 children? That's a lot. That's a lot of kids, man. Does it get easier if you have more? Good question.
Is. Finally, if a girl follows me and she's hot and I see a single picture of her in a private jet, it's block. Women can't afford jets. Women are all brokies. Why are you flying around on some man's jet? You should have been a virgin when I met you. Haram. All right.
Oh my God. What? Okay. Well, if she's on a private jet, I get, well, that probably means she's kind of a gold digger, unless she's like dating well, but then if she's dating for money, she should be a gold digger. Yeah, I guess with Instagram and stuff now, a lot of these women do crazy stuff. I don't know. It just seems like there are these weird influencers. I don't think they're just getting paid because they look good, and then they pretend to be having fun in some club or on a jet or whatever, which maybe they are having fun some of the times, but what I've heard anyways, and whether it's true or not, I don't know, is that a lot of it is like, for the photo they look like they're having fun, but they're really not having fun. But I guess you are in these places, so I don't know. Or is that just like sour people who aren't able to have those experiences? Who knows? Fair enough. You should have been a virgin. That's like basically never going to happen. Like, it's so rare to find somebody who's a virgin. Oh my God. It's so ridiculous. And this whole haram thing, God, you listen to some of these podcasts and like these Muslim guys, or I'm assuming it's mainly guys, will just get in there on the like in a question or something, and it'll just be like, they just throw out haram, haram. It's like the new buzzword.
Andrew Tate. Now you're getting very near the knuckle with some of those tweets.
Am I?
Will you tell me?
I don't think so. I think people can understand they're semi-satirical. I think people can
Do
understand.
you mean them as jokes or do you mean them?
It's not that I don't mean.
Dude, this is it. There is truth in every joke. In every joke, there is truth. So even me, when I will make a joke, I'll make a joke about something, but you take like a grain of truth and you build on it. So you're making fun of yourself, but as an example, you make fun of yourself. There's always a grain of truth in it. So it's like, yeah, you're saying this and they're satirical, but you actually do believe this, or it actually happened, right? Whatever you're talking about. So it's not when he says that, I'm like, I think, are you toning it down because you're on an interview with Piers?
I mean them as jokes. I mean they're a overall public commentary and observation. I do mean what I say. If I were to see a girl on a private plane on Instagram, for example, I would assume that a man put her on that private plane. I would not assume she bought it herself.
What if it was
Perhaps that makes me misogynistic.
What if it was Ariana Grande or Beyonce?
Well, that's slightly different, isn't it?
Why?
Because they're famous and very
They're
rich.
women?
Yeah, of course, and they're famous and very rich. But
So
if
there are lots of women you wouldn't think that if you actually saw them on a private plane.
If I saw a 19-year-old girl from Moldova where the average wage is $200 a month and she was on a private jet, I would assume that with the balance of probabilities, considering I'm an adult, it's very likely because of her beauty, a man has put her on that private plane. Yes, if that makes me misogynistic instead of just perspicacious enough to understand how the world works, so be it. I'm a realist.
Should you be such a generalist about these things?
Well, you have to be a generalist when you're looking for in the balance of probabilities and trying to find balance in the world. You have to be a generalist. In general, if I stroke a lion, it's going to bite my hand. In general, there might be a nice one, but I don't want to find out. So that's how the world works.
You've praised the Taliban in the past. Would you do so again? tonight?
The world is not black and white.
So
The world is gray.
maybe we'll pause at a better point here. I wanted to ask, do people think that Andrew Tate is good looking? Like, I think he's super fit. Clearly, he's like very well fit. But on terms of like looks, if you were to rate him on a scale, like I think I'm totally fucking average, and I did not mean to say the F word. I think I'm like totally average. I do not, in terms of like looks. I look at him. I think he's average. He's very fit, but I think he's average. I don't know. I think he dresses well, and that would probably bump him up, right? So maybe he's a 6. But other than that, I just think he's like a 5. I don't know. I'm curious what everybody else thinks. Please write it in the comments below.
It's very difficult to sit and make black and white assumptions about anything. To sit and say that the Taliban are completely and utterly evil and we're completely and utterly good, as you just discussed with the moral high ground. I believe that the Taliban bring law and order. It may not be the law and order we like, but it's a form of law and order.
Oh my
and humans
God.
usually gravitate
What about
towards...
their treatment of women? I mean, only
Is it now because he's Muslim that it's like a thing? Like because you've converted to Islam that you have to be like this dancing around on the Taliban thing?
tonight, only tonight, they have banned any women from going to university.
Fantastic. Let's get the feminists to go and teach them a lesson. The feminists are so tough, and they stand up and say they can do anything a man can do. Let's arm them up and send them to Afghanistan. I'm sure they'll fix it.
Yeah, but it's not. It's a serious matter, isn't it? That women don't get the education they deserve.
And that's a very serious answer. If women are just as capable as men in terms of combat, like feminists pretend they are, they can go over there and they can deal with the
A
Taliban.
lot of women do go to combat.
Oh, exactly. So they can go deal with the Taliban. It's nothing to do with me. They can stand up and fight for their own rights.
Surely you wouldn't defend the Taliban banning women from university.
It's saying it's nothing to do with me, Piers. It's absolutely nothing to
What
do with
about
me.
the Afghan women?
It's nothing to do with me on any level.
You don't have a view?
I have a view. My view is that people naturally gravitate towards
God.
law and order, and if you didn't have the Taliban, you'd have different warlords operating in lawlessness.
Well, fair
and
enough.
there would be no way to prevent your store or your market stall getting completely robbed by someone with an AK-47, and people are going to gravitate towards a form of law and order. America left. They left a power vacuum, and the power vacuum is now full.
Well, I don't.
I think that's a fair enough statement. Like there's always going to be somebody who comes in. It's like a gang leader, right? Like you take out the one gang leader, then there's just a vacuum, and then somebody else rises up. So it's like there has to be some form of order, whether it's, you know, some tyrannical tyrant or a gang or the police or a government or whatever. So
Disagree with that.
Okay, well,
But
there we go.
I do think the banning of women from university in Afghanistan is utterly horrific.
And I think the feminists are going to arm themselves. They're going to show us that they can do anything a man can do. They're going to go over there to combat. They're going to teach Taliban a lesson.
Why?
oh my God, he's so ridiculous. The feminists arm him up. I'm picturing a bunch of like blue hair, pink hair, feminists with like short brush cuts. Well, actually, maybe that's lesbians. I don't know, but going over there to like kick some ass. Hey, if they're all like Tulsi Gabbards, man, they probably would kick some ass. But I don't think she's a feminist per se, but she's a badass.
Why can't you just say on that, you know what, it's completely wrong?
Because it's not my point. It's I don't understand.
But it makes me think, it'll make your critics think that you don't think it's wrong.
They could ban all men. They could ban all short
But they're
people.
not. They're only banning women.
Correct. They could ban all short people. They could ban all people with long hair.
And
none of it's anything to do with me. So they can do whatever they want. I'm not going to go to war with the Taliban.
But you've just literally spent an impassioned first segment comparing the way, for example, Dubai handles law and order
Correct.
to this country.
Correct.
So you do express views about different laws.
Absolutely. Both places.
So when I put to you a law that basically bans women from being educated, it's not. Why is it a problem for you to say, you know what, it's wrong?
They're both places I've resided in, Dubai and London, so I have personal experience. I can give my personal opinion, but like I said, it has absolutely nothing to do with me with what the Taliban decide to do inside of Afghanistan. And if they decide that's the most prudent way to run their society, then we have two choices. We can either go over there and start another war that we shouldn't be involved in and waste a bunch of life, or we can sit and say it's up to them. They should govern themselves. They're people. We're no better than them. And they've decided to live their lives a particular way, and that's how they're going to live it. Like I said, if feminists are very upset and they're very disgusted by the fact that in Afghanistan, women cannot go to school, I've been told repeatedly by feminists that they're just as capable as men in all realms, and I expect them to arm themselves and fly over to Afghanistan and fix it.
Like a lot of women have done in combat.
Good. Congratulations. Go fight. Well, this is...
What do people think about women being in the military and fighting? On the face of it as a concept, I personally am like, I think they should have the choice to go do that. But maybe I'm just old-fashioned in my thought. Like, I just feel like bad. I don't know if bad's the right word. But it makes me feel like oh, like I would like to not have you doing that. Like, well, I guess it's their choice. They're not being forced to do it. So I'm sorry, I'm like totally spitballing this right now. Yeah, I wouldn't ever want it to be that they're forced to do it. But if they choose to do it, fine. And I was thinking, like, if I was a soldier and I was fighting next to a woman, I guess you would just treat them like another brother in arms. But would I end up in a situation where I would, like, try to look after them more than the men just because they are women? Because that's the general inclination that I generally have. I don't know. That's tough. I want to say that I wouldn't, but even just thinking about it right now, I feel like that I might. I don't know. That's a weird question. I'm curious what other people think about that. You can put that in the comments below.
The thing that's very interesting, because when you talk about ideas, it's not even just about Afghanistan and feminism. When you talk about ideas, they must all be defended at some point. There has to come down to violence. The world is backed by violence. Nobody wants to talk about this. It doesn't matter what it is. If you have a disagreement between two parties, eventually, if the disagreement continues, it ends up in violence. Feminism is defended by men. Men stand up and defend feminism, not feminists themselves, because they're incapable of violence. And we're in a situation now where you're saying that we should send men to go and fight for feminism. Why? It's not a man's problem.
No. What? What? It's not is it? I don't think anybody's saying they need feminism in Afghanistan. You just want to have. You shouldn't be banned from going to school. Like, is that feminist? That like we should be able to go to school? I don't think that's feminist. Are we saying feminism is anything like besides being stuck in the house and like just like cooking and like raising kids and like in that like everything else is anything beyond that is feminism? Maybe because I'm in North America and we're already like not like that. It's this weird thing. I guess it's just about having equal rights to do whatever, right? So men and women should be able to do the same things. At least that's what it was originally supposed to be. Okay, I don't know.
No, I think I'm saying
feminists believe.
I think men can be feminists too, because if feminism believes in equality for women, I'll sign up to it. I don't agree with radical feminists who hate men. Right? To me, the radical anything to me is a bad thing.
Yes. And I think most feminism in the West currently is radical.
Well, some of it is, no question.
Absolutely, but this is my point. My point is that the Taliban are going to do whatever the Taliban decide to do. If I'm going to fly over to another country, I will respect their laws and customs. It's not my job to come along and tell other people how to live. I don't believe I have a moral high ground in that degree. And if people are genuinely upset and disgusted by it, the bottom line in most disagreements on the earth is violence. People who feel like they should go and fix it, then fix it with violence, then it can be the feminists who feel so outraged by it. But it's funny, they don't comment on these subjects, feminists. They seem to instead attack the Western male for some reason.
You deleted a video in which you praised ISIS. Why?
I don't know which video you're talking about in particular. It might have been a video from a long time ago. But in general, I understand that, like I said, the world is not black and white. The world is gray areas, and Western imperialism as a whole has been causing more problems than it's ever fixed, and it's disgusting. And I don't know the exact video you're referencing, but sometimes when an underdog destroys a Western imperialist, I have a degree of, I wouldn't say satisfaction, but
Satisfaction?
No, but there's certainly a degree of,
The way ISIS
I don't know the particular.
conducted themselves.
I don't know about the particular video we're talking
Well,
about.
ISIS were one of the most deadly terror groups in the world.
Absolutely.
They committed a series of appalling atrocities,
Sure.
killing innocent people left, right, and
Completely.
centre.
Yeah.
How could you possibly have satisfaction?
Well, if it's the video I'm recollecting, if it's the video we're talking about, it's about the fact that I believe ISIS was funded by the West and created by the West in the first place. And it wasn't a degree of satisfaction.
I
Like,
heard
I'm
that
happy
too.
ISIS exists. It was a commentary on the world.
Well,
and
here's
the
what you
fact-
said. ISIS are the real Muslims because ISIS do exactly what the book says. Kill everyone who's not a Muslim and chop people's heads off and set them on fire and be raging lunatics. But all the other Muslims go, they're not real Muslims because I read the book, and ignore those parts. Well, then you're not an effing Muslim because you're ignoring the effing book.
That's an interesting point you've just raised, because I am now Islamic. And it's funny because I used to be an
he
atheist.
confirmed
When
it.
you're an
He is-
atheist, you believe that religion causes more problems than it fixes, and then you come to a realization and you start to learn the truth of yourself and the truth of God, and you realize that religion is actually the cure for most of the problems in the world, and godlessness is the problem in the world. So
Okay, so his point, so I was raised Catholic. I don't consider I'm not Catholic anymore, but I was definitely quite active in the church as a teenager, and then when I went to college, I became like the super atheist, where I was like literally trying to convince everybody that religion was not real or was not good or whatever, and like it was made up. And since that time, I've sort of just transitioned into like, I don't even know what this is, but like this maybe agnostic version where I'm just like, well, there could be a God, there could not be God. I don't know. Like I don't even care to get involved in it. But I definitely see how being raised Catholic has influenced my life in some ways, where even though I say I'm not Catholic anymore, I still have like little things that come out with it, where I'm like, oh, this is from the religion, right? But it's what the point he's making there, that it's, religion solves more problems than it creates, and you know that whole point, it's just a structure. It's like another, to me anyways, it's like another government. It's another structure that has rules and things that you should abide by, and in terms of a religion, it's more than just the government, because it has more like, here's how you should live your day-to-day life. Like it's supposed to be, I think, more all-encompassing, right? But it doesn't seem to me anyways that any religion is going to be perfect. Like they're all going to have things where you're just going to be like, well, that doesn't seem right, or this doesn't seem right, or at least people will interpret it in different ways, I guess. Um, it's just like anything. It's like nothing is ever 100%. So like I I don't like the concept when people do that, when they take something and then they're like, because I'm in the US, blah, we're amazing, we're the best, or because I'm Catholic or Muslim or Hindu or whatever, we are the right religion, we're the best, and you can't critique anything, like you can't say anything because we're the true one. Like it's all just like look, nothing is ever 100%.
So that is something I will apologize for and admit I was wrong about, because I was atheistic, and now as a Muslim, I understand that's absolutely not the case. If that's the particular video you're talking about, then there's...
Well, that's really interesting. So you regret saying that?
Yeah, because you learn and you grow and you evolve, as I said. At the time, I believed it because I didn't believe in God at the time. It was...
I wonder if he prays 5 times a day, because that's what he's supposed to do, right? Being as a Muslim, and he has to pray towards that. Excuse me, that not the it's like a building thing in Mecca. They go there for a Hajj. I forget what the what it's called, but I think when you pray, you're supposed to aim yourself in that direction.
was a very long time ago. It's actually kind of a testament to you, Piers. You managed to find the oldest possible videos of me that have ever existed. But at the time, I was atheistic.
Well, no, I was curious because you have recently converted to Islam.
Correct.
So these questions, I think, are pertinent to your conversion.
Absolutely.
As to what you actually believe as a practicing Muslim now.
Yeah, I believe that Islam is beautiful. I believe it's the last true religion on earth. It's certainly the last respected religion on earth. And I felt differently inside since I've converted. And I think it has the solutions to a lot of the problems we're facing in the world today. That particular video was once again satirical. A lot of people watching this would not have seen it. They would not have seen the joke element of it. It's fine. But
It's not funny, though, is
no,
it?
well, you know, it's like most of the time, as we discussed in our first interview with me. Things are taken out of context, short form, et cetera, et cetera. But all in all, you could say the same things about Christians. If you were to read the Old Testament and say, stick to the Old Testament, you'd kill anyone who works on a Sunday. So it's not applicable.
Yeah,
You
Some
wouldn't
of them are right.
countenance violence.
Yeah. See, then he kind of like went into what I just said. Like people are like it's the last true religion, blah blah blah, right? Like just substitute Islam with whatever other religion, right? Like in general. I don't know every religion, but it seems to kind of be the way it goes. It's again, it's the same sort of concept, and I think in terms of the respected part, I mean, based on what I see, not I'm just an individual living in North America, so I mean, I would say he's probably right from my perspective, respected in the sense that like people will not just talk crap about Islam because there's more of like a threat that if you do that, you're going to get your ass whooped. And sometimes there was murders like the Charlie Hebdo thing and that kind of stuff. Whereas Catholics, even though they have like, I just used them as an example because I know about it. They have the Pope and it's respected, but then we talk like, and there was this whole like pedophile ring thing, whatever, with the priests. There's, you know, like people can make fun of it and call it, say things like, oh, he has a silly hat, and I don't know, like, I don't like this, and Jesus sucks or something, whatever they say, right? And there's really no repercussions for that if you from the Catholic perspective, like in this case. So there's like nobody comes back and like says something, except for maybe like your family members or something who are religious, or other religious people will like, how can you say that? But like nobody's getting like their ass whooped or getting killed or something about it. So how much of that is just because people are scared if I say things against Islam rather than on the face of its teachings? I don't know. Open question.
Say again?
You don't countenance violence.
I absolutely do not countenance violence. When I was talking about violence being the bottom line decider between disagreeing points of view, it's not I'm calling for violence. I'm just making a commentary on how the world genuinely functions.
But when you use a word like satisfaction, you understand that people will watch that and think, how can you possibly find any form of terrorism satisfying?
I don't find any form of terrorism satisfying. I don't find Western terrorism satisfying either. I don't think it's satisfying that we managed to find $500,000 per bomb to drop on some farmer who makes $4 a day under the name of freedom.
Well, nor do I.
And we can't seem to pay our nurses enough to do their jobs. I don't find any kind of terrorism. And it's actually very interesting you talk about the word terrorism. Terrorist and freedom fighter, good guy and bad guy, all of this is subjective. There are people who believe that the West are the biggest terrorists on the earth. There are people who believe that America causes more wars than anyone else, and they've killed more people than anyone else. And there's people who believe the absolute opposite. So once again, it depends who you're talking to. It's a subjective conversation. There's no black and white in the world. There's areas of gray, and that's how it is. So I thought you were talking about another video where I was saying that ISIS are standing up and fighting for what they believe in. I'm not saying what they believe in is right, but that's what they were fighting for at the time. And it was a completely different video than the one you were actually referencing.
But you would condemn them now?
I don't condemn anybody doing anything bad to anybody. I'm not a person out here with a criminal record. I don't hurt anyone. I just spent my first segment on this show talking about how I believe in law and order and how important that is. I think people can operate inside of their lives safely and walk around, man, woman, child, can walk around in safety in any city they live in. How that law and order is constructed is not my jurisdiction. I'm not in charge of the law and order of Afghanistan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Afghanistan, Kazakhstan, any of them. It's nothing to do with me.
I want to talk to you after the break about masculinity. Why is it that so many young men gravitate to you? What is your view of what it takes to be a man? More with Andrew Tate after the break.
This is Talk TV.
Welcome back to this special edition of PiersMorgan Uncensored with Andrew Tate, one-on-one. So Ash Sarkar, who's a lively contributor to this programme, has tweeted, Andrew Tate, who you're interviewing about free speech, thinks women are a man's property. We shouldn't be allowed to drive. Boasts about only dating teenagers to imprint on them. Misogynists are disgusting whether they're in Afghanistan or a swanky London studio.
Am I a misogynist, am I? I don't think, first of the things she said, I don't even truly believe.
So many people call you a misogynist.
If you're prepared to listen to me, I'll explain to you exactly why she's completely and utterly wrong. If you can go through the points again, she said,
I would say he's like a super traditionalist. Like, he's like old school traditionalist. But hopefully he'll lay it out here.
I think you're a misogynist.
Absolutely not. I'm not a misogynist on any level. This is one of those buzzwords they just throw at people randomly. Homophobic, racist, misogynist, they just throw it out at people.
What is your view of women?
I'm a realist.
What is your real view of women?
I absolutely not really love women. I adore women. I have good relationships with women. Not a single woman has come up to me on the street since I've been canceled. Not a single one has said anything negative. Every single one of them has said positive things. You're a traditional male. I wish more men were like you. You understand your masculine roles. You understand what you're supposed to do. You understand you're supposed to protect women. You're exactly the kind of man I'd be looking for. I've never had a negative interaction with a female ever since I've been dubbed the biggest misogynist.
Where is the...
Please let me finish. I'm sorry, Piers. Also, there's not been a single woman who's accused me of a crime, not a single woman who's accused me of rape, not a single woman who's come out and said anything from my entire past of 36 years I've done anything wrong ever. Anybody else with my level of fame, any footballer, any other movie star, at least has people who've come out and accused them of rape, X, Y, Z. I have no woman who's come out and ever said I've hurt her, no woman who's come out and ever said I've done damage to her or been horrible to her. Everybody who ever's interacted with me has said I've been a nice person. All of them. So this random Twitter nobody who seems to know so much is full of...
All right, you've responded to her tweet.
Yeah, she's a liar.
But here's where is the line for you between masculinity, which I will always defend, and which I agree with? I think a lot of women like men to be masculine, and what has become known as toxic masculinity. And the reason I ask you is that you are engaged in that debate with men all the time. Where is the line for you where men shouldn't cross, where the behaviour should be kept within a line?
Please define toxic masculinity.
Well, you tell me what you think it crosses a line from being a masculine, good man to a bad man.
There's no such thing as too much masculinity if it's genuinely masculine. Genuine masculinity is not out here to hurt people. It's absolutely the opposite. It's out here to protect. And when bad things happen, they call traditionally masculine men. If you need a firefighter, you need a masculine man. When you call the police because of the problem you have, you want masculine men. And as soon as a woman or a man is in trouble, when you look for backup, you look for masculine men. And masculine men have a duty to provide and protect those they care about. We have a duty to do things we don't feel like doing because we know we're supposed to do them. And that's why we stayed in the Titanic and died. Those were masculine men.
Where did you...
Okay, I agree in general with what he's saying here, but it's like, that's in case of a fire, well, like a fire happens, fine. But if you're being called as like a police officer, 95% chance or like really, really high chance you're being called somewhere because like a man is doing something bad. Unless it's maybe like domestic violence, because I think domestic violence, like women seem to be doing a lot of that. I don't know how many people get called, how many people call for domestic violence, but I'm just thinking if you're getting like assaulted or something, it's generally like a man is doing it. So what are we saying? Like they are not masculine men then, or not even that, right? Let's take it to a different place, because that's like a bad thing. You could say like they're a bad person, whether they're masculine or not, or whatever is happening there. But let's take it to nations or villages, like even the Russia-Ukraine thing, right? So now there's men who are fighting, or majority men, right? And so Russia is attacking Ukraine, Ukraine is defending, and so this is, the masculine men standing up, being like, hey, we're defending, and obviously there's women there too that are fighting. what, like, are the Russians then not masculine men? Like the ones that are being sent to fight? Like, so what's happening? I guess they're just being like forced to fight. I don't know. I don't know where my question is going with this, but
Did you get your views about this from?
This is what I grew up with. It's the family I grew up around. And
Your father, your mother?
Yeah,
both?
and the world I lived in. And I think a lot of the things I'm saying now about masculinity and how people should act in the world, how the world should function, were considered completely normal and accepted by everybody only 20 years ago. I think the world's just lost its mind.
okay, I know where I was going. So he's jogging my thoughts here. So if every man, are we saying, or can we say that if every man, hypothetically, right, if every man could be a masculine man, right? So now we're all masculine men. Would there not be, fighting and muggings and, this sort of like all this bad activity, right? Like besides natural disasters and things that happen on accident, would we not have like these killings and shootings and things that maybe men are doing because they're masculine men, they are assured in themselves, they feel good about themselves, they're healthy, right? So that wouldn't happen. And then are we kind of saying, I don't know, and I don't know if we can extrapolate this into like a nation perspective. So like going back to the Russia-Ukraine thing, can you extrapolate it there and say, well, like Putin's not a masculine man. That's why he's like, let's do that. I don't know if we can because it's like nation politics and you might just be like, well, we want resources, so we're taking this, we want to take this land because I don't know, I guess there's other factors there. But like on an individual basis, if me and my neighbor are living next door to each other, right, and he has a pile of food and I have none, if I'm a masculine man, I'm not going to go over there and try to steal his food to eat because I'm starving. Because I'm a masculine man, I'm assured in myself, I'm going to instead maybe go over to him and ask him, can I do something for you, like work, like do something productive so that I can get access to the food that he has so, my family can eat. Is that fair? Like, and then are we just saying that all these other things are done by men or people, if we want to be more generalized, who are not healthy, and so that's why they're doing in general, obviously not in all cases, but that's why they're doing it. These bad things.
For me to stand up and say a man should protect a woman now gets to be called a misogynist and canceled. If I said that 10 years ago, everyone would say, duh. And what's funny is, everyone who argues against me and says men shouldn't protect women, especially all the feminists, if they were with their boyfriend and a man broke into their house, guess who they'd expect to go downstairs?
I think men should protect women.
Who do you think? Think they go themselves? Are they going to Afghanistan? No, we send men to do these things. So
Well,
all
we
this
send
garbage.
we send women in the armed forces too.
You have to generalize when you make points.
There are many courageous
Exceptions,
people.
exceptions do not disprove the rule.
No, but you've got to concede there are many courageous women serving in the armed forces.
Absolutely and utterly, completely correct. But by and large, traditionally, soldiers are men. Exceptions do not disprove the rule.
Like if the situation he gave, at least for myself, like if somebody broke in, I would protect the woman in my life and my kids. I mean, I may not be super successful at it, but I would try. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I'm just raised in an old-fashioned way or old-fashioned mindset, but in general. Now, if let's say I'm married, right, and my wife comes and she's like coming in with a baseball bat behind me, like to help me out, cool, that's awesome. Then it hopefully increases my chance of survival of fighting off the intruders. But in general, like regardless of that happening, I wouldn't expect her to do that, but I would be grateful if she did. But I'd also be concerned as well because then she's ending up in harm's way, and now it's like, oh shit, what if this person who broke in like goes after her, and then I guess there's lots of complications, but.
Well, it's not an exception. It's a fact that there are a lot of women now in the armed forces.
Correct. But if you were to take the average soldier, they are a male. If you're allowed to say who's a male and who isn't nowadays, I'm assuming their gender, I apologize. If you were to take the average soldier, they're a male, which means that exceptions are the female soldiers, which because there's a lower percent of them, a lower probability. Exceptions do not disprove the rules. Men do the fighting. Right now in Ukraine, men cannot leave. Women are allowed to leave because men have to fight in the front line and women are allowed to go to Dubai. That is how it is.
What do you say to young men who come to you for advice, who feel lost, who don't really know where they fit into society?
I say that life as a man is exceptionally difficult. I say the most beautiful and the most terrifying thing about being a man is you're born without value. Society doesn't care about you. You're only going to be cared about based on how useful you are. You have the chance to build yourself up and become a superhero if you're prepared to do the hard work and be indefatigable enough to never quit. But if you're going to stand around and wait for a handout, nobody's going to ever respect you. And I think that a lot of people have forgotten about how difficult and how competitive it is as a man. We're always in constant competition with each other. And it's your duty as a man to stand up and say, I want to be as important and strong and good-hearted and God-fearing as possible. And I need to work hard to achieve those things.
Damien.
Yeah, I would say he's right about the competition thing. Like, we're always competing, but it's not specifically a man thing. It's just people in general. Because if you think about it, like women, like now women are in the workforce, so they're obviously competing with men. And then just even if you want to take it out of that way and just think about like relationships, women are competing with other women to get with men who are competing with each other to get with women. So it's like everybody's competing with everybody. Like we're all competing. It's just all competition.
Sheila Hancock says we've become too over-emotional as a society, crying too much about everything. Has she got a point?
She's completely right. And the dangerous thing about overly emotional men is that they're dangerous. They're genuinely dangerous. This is what's crazy. All these people who talk about toxic masculinity and how bad it is for men to be traditionally masculine. A traditionally masculine man does things he doesn't feel like doing because it is his duty to do them. He charges into the building because it is his duty. Not because he feels like it, because it is his duty. We're now teaching the new generation of men that they don't have duty and they can just act on their feelings and act how they feel and they don't have to act as a man should. Do you know what happens when you get men who just act how they feel? You get school shooters, you get violence, you get rapists. Men who do not control their emotions are dangerous. If you find a man who is stoic, he's not going to hurt people. He's going to sit and think about his actions very carefully, and he's going to be a good man who protects and provides for his family. You find a man who just acts out on impulse and does whatever he feels like, you're going to find a dangerous man. Sitting here telling men to cry more and act with their feelings and it's okay to feel this way, that way, etc., and have no self-control. That is why we have the problems we have in the world. Absolutely and utterly wrong. So when they talk about toxic masculinity, they have it completely inversed on its head, completely and utterly wrong. We need to be teaching stoicism. We need to be teaching young men to understand that the world is very, very difficult. It's hard to be a man. You're going to feel bad sometimes. You need to suck it up and perform anyway. Not to sit there and cry your eyes out or blame other people.
Tough
or
being a
cop
woman,
out.
too, in modern society.
It's certainly tough being a woman, but I'm not a woman, so why would I speak on issues I do not understand? I'm a man.
You can feel an empathy for women.
I feel empathy, certainly, but I do not understand their issues.
See, a lot of men come up to
I agree with the general premise of what he says, but I think he just like makes it a little too far. Like he takes it a little too extreme in like how he talks about it. It's frankly, I mean, yeah, would I run into a burning building to save somebody and instead of a woman? I don't know. Maybe burning building's not a great example, but like I'd probably wait for the fire department. But if there was people around, yeah, I would probably feel more responsible to do that. If there was like, me and another guy standing outside and there was two women standing outside and there's like a baby who's stuck inside the burning building, I'm probably going to look to the other guy and be like, we should go in there and try to like do that. Even though we have no training to be firemen or whatever, we probably like I would look to the other person and be like, we should do something. Rather, I'm not gonna the other man. Rather, I'm not gonna look to the woman. It's not. I don't know if it would just be like my first instinctual thought. It's not that I'm like purposely sitting there like the woman can't do it because I don't know. Maybe the woman's like a volunteer firefighter and I don't even know, right? But it wouldn't even be that. It would I just think instinctually. That's what I would think or what I would do. I guess the best idea was like you get everybody into a circle and be like, okay, we need to go and get this baby, and you like quick, like action. And when I say like you get into a circle, it's not like, oh, gather around, guys. It's like you address the four people that are there or whatever and make a decision or say who wants to come in with me or you just go yourself because people are too freaking slow.
To me, and they admire you. I've got to say, a lot of women I've spoken to don't admire. They think you represent misogyny. They think when they hear you not commit to saying the Taliban shouldn't be banning women from university.
Oh yeah, and his comment on like he can't talk about women's issues because he's not a woman and he can't have an opinion on. Again, like what I said earlier in the video, it's so stupid. Of course you can. You can have an opinion. It just might not be a great opinion. And everybody has opinions on everything. We just accept it and be like, fine, you have an opinion, okay? Like like you can say it. He's doing this weird thing, or he just doesn't want to say it on TV. I don't know.
University education. Well, why can't he just say that's wrong?
Well, firstly, that's not my experience. I experience the absolute and utter opposite of that. Secondly, it's because it's a moral point I'm making. My moral point is I speak on things I understand. I speak on experiences I've had.
But you believe in equality?
I speak, yes. I speak on, sure. I speak on subjects I know intimately. I do not feel qualified. I'm a realist, and I do not feel qualified to sit and discuss the gender laws in Afghanistan. I have not been to Afghanistan. I have not researched the subject thoroughly. I'm not going to sit here and say how the Taliban should be running their country. It's nothing to do with me. I find it quite flattering, Piers.
I think that's a good point, what he said. You have an opinion. You can say your opinion, and then you can just follow up and like, look, I'm not researched into this, but this is what I think. You know what I mean? Just keep it simple.
That although, I understand I'm monumentally influential, the most Google man on earth, etc., I find it very flattering that you think I have some kind of control over the domestic policy of Afghanistan. But I assure you I don't. I don't.
No,
so it's nothing to do with
I'm not asking you to have a view on having influence of a domestic policy. I'm sure the Taliban couldn't give a stuff what either of us say about it. It's just curious to me that it's an easy win for you to make women think you're not anti them, to say that when they're not given equality, as the women in Afghanistan clearly are not, because they're not allowed to go to university now, as of today, that is clearly unequal, unfair. We should all be able to agree that that is wrong.
Well, certainly as a realist.
Even you, tough guy, Andrew.
It's not tough guy. I am a professional. As a professional, I can state that, yes, it is not equal. Yes, it is not fair. That is obvious for anybody. I'm not saying those things are not true. What I'm saying is it's nothing to do with me.
Right, OK, but you made a concession you think is wrong. Then.
I said it's unequal and it's unfair.
Yeah, so wrong.
Well, perhaps.
Force yourself, Andrew.
No, perhaps it's wrong under certain moral guidelines, but under the moral guidelines which are currently in charge of the jurisdiction of Afghanistan, they don't believe it's wrong. It's nothing to do with me. Well, I'm not going to sit here and tell other countries how to run their laws. I'm going to live in societies with laws I respect.
You know what?
Oh my God. Okay. Did he not? Sorry. Maybe I'm misinterpreting what happened earlier in the show, but I thought he literally was saying like Britain is like just bullshit. And it's like they're running it so badly, and it's a cesspool, and I got my jet on standby, and like, boom, we're out of here. It just comes off to me like now you converted to Islam, and the Taliban in Afghanistan or whatever is an Islamic country, so now you don't want to say things. That's all. That's how it comes off to me.
I'll take unfair and unequal.
Sure.
Because that's self-explanatory. We're going to have a game of chess in a minute after the break, because you are a very good chess player. I can hold my own with the chessboard. Your father was a chess international master, in fact. And we're going to.
It's his dad, eh? I feel like he's got a very 70s, 80s hairstyle mustache thing going on there. That's cool. That's cool. His dad was like a master chess player.
A 5-minute game of speed chess. Winner takes all, Mr. Tate. After the break, me and Andrew Tate live. Chess.
Kind of looks like
he's
his
got the bigger brain, shall we?
I think Andrew Tate has a nice smile. When he smiles, it's a very nice smile.
Welcome back to PiersMorgan Uncensored. Andrew Tate is still here. Andrew's father was an American chess international master, and his son's pretty good at it too. Well, I can hold my own as my school chess champion. And with 5 minutes left on the programme, we're going to have a game of speed chess. Winner takes all. All right, well, you're white. Off you go. Off we go. 5 minutes, go.
That's racist, Piers. Cancel PiersMorgan.
Okay.
Are you good, Piers?
Well,
you're going to destroy me.
Clearly from this opening, better than you.
Let's see, I guess, aren't we?
Okay. Big
I can't believe we're watching a game of chess.
School chess champion, eh?
It's tense.
Certainly.
Lennox Lewis was better than you when I played him.
Was he?
Well, he beat me 39 times.
Yeah, but
on a
now
40
you
check.
should lose your bishop.
He is
Just a quick,
pretty good at the game, I heard.
Oh, to the pawn, yeah. That was a king, sorry, that was lined up.
Trying to get aggressive with you, Mr. Tate.
Yeah.
Show you a bit of toxic chess masculinity.
Well, the world's been pretty aggressive with me lately, Piers, so I'm used to it. It's fine.
Okay.
Oops. Apologize.
How long we got?
Why do you think the queen...
3:45.
Why do you think the queen gets to jump across the board and the king doesn't?
Because it's sexist.
The game of chess is sexist, but perhaps it reflects life, Piers. Haven't you ever thought that when you look at a yacht in Dubai...
You're running out of time. Stop stalling. I know what you're
Fine,
doing.
I'll,
Oh, God!
I'll take your queen.
Damn it.
I was trying to give you a little speech there. You didn't want to listen to it.
No,
I was
I
trying to
didn't.
tell you when you see a yacht in Dubai, the girl just gets an Instagram invite, gets to jump right on board. She gets to run across the board and do whatever she wants, but the man has to get there a square at a time. The man had to buy that yacht. That's the difference between being a man and being a woman. That's why the queen gets to move how she does.
A chivalrous man just always lets ladies go first.
Life and chess
That's
reflect.
why I let you go first.
Life and chess reflect, Piers.
I've made a catastrophic error, but I'm bouncing back.
Let's see. I always accidentally take someone's chick.
3 minutes.
I don't even mean to. It's just like,
Oh,
oops.
he's accidentally takes someone's queen. Oh, shit.
You need to stop knocking my pieces over like some.
He's aggressive with
Yeah,
it.
exactly. It's not getting in my head. They're talking to me saying you're getting in my head.
Oh, he's got an earpiece.
How do you think
in,
chess
right.
reflects life?
I think that it's all about strategy.
Correct.
That if you're good at chess, you can be good at pretty much anything because it's about thinking ahead, it's about planning, it's about relentless
Those pieces
practice.
seem very
You know
light.
what else is beautiful about chess? If you lose, somewhere you made a mistake. There is no luck.
Absolutely right.
In chess, even if it's the smallest mistake, somewhere it was your fault. It teaches absolute self-accountability, which
Yeah.
is something that we need a lot more of in the world today.
That is true.
And that's why chess is so important. You can take my knight if you want.
Okay.
You don't want it? Why don't you
No.
want my knight?
Because I'm playing a long game.
Oh, okay. Thought you'd want it. I'm going to leave it there in case you take it anyway.
Okay.
I'm going to go...
Because I know what you want me to do, and I'm not going to do it. Actually, I will do it.
Okay, good. Check.
I know what you want me to do.
Check.
Oh, yeah. He's just...
Check.
Yeah,
How long?
he's so
I need to
trapped.
buy some time here. I need to buy some time. This is really playing well on radio, by the way.
Yeah, playing
Damn
well on the
it.
radio.
Yeah,
you can take it. It's king.
I'm screwed. I'm screwed.
Don't say that.
How long have I got? 1 minute 12.
Believe in yourself.
I never ever give up.
Believe in yourself,
I
Piers.
do believe in myself, thank you.
Self-belief is important.
I do believe in myself, but this has not gone well. You're quite good at chess, I'll give you that.
Well, in the chessboard of life, I've done pretty good. I've done okay. Check.
The question is, can you beat me in time? You've only got 50 seconds.
Check. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't think you can.
Let's see. Mate in two, Piers. Yeah, you can have that. Doesn't matter. It's mate in two.
Oh, yeah, if he
Check.
puts... Yeah, now you're covered.
Good game, sir.
I saw
Well
it.
played.
Thank you.
25 seconds away from safety. Okay, well, Andrew Tate, I'll give you something. You're good at chess.
Thank you.
You have to be. You just beat me.
I know you're a internationally renowned
What has
player.
chess taught you about life, quickly?
I can teach you a lot of things. Like I said about the queen being able to run around the board, the king having to move a square at a time, about the fact you need to think ahead, absolutely everything is your fault. But there is a saying, which is actually one of my favorite sayings in the world. It said, a well-played game of chess is a sign of a gentleman, but an expertly played game of chess is the sign of a wasted life. And it's kind of sad. It was
I
said
played
on
Lennox
the
Lewis on Celebrity Apprentice 39 times out of 40 in America years
Interesting
ago.
quote.
And he beat me 39 times out of 40, I mean. And I was amazed. He was taught by his mum. But he was all about the way he fought, the way he boxed, was all down to the way he played chess.
Yeah, chess.
It was all about looking ahead, getting ahead of your opponent, planning punches, all that kind of thing.
Chess absolutely reflects life. And even I say this now in my business meetings with my team. A lot of the problem in the world today, especially with teams and businesses, etc., everyone wants to be the king. But if you want to have a team, if you want to have a side that wins, if you want to win a game of chess, everybody has to know their role and do their role effectively. There can be a king and a rook and a pawn and a bishop and a knight, and everyone does everything correctly. And when that happens, you have a very formidable board and you're hard to beat. And chess reflects life absolutely. It's something I do every single day.
What kind of man?
See, this is what I mean. That's like he has good advice. Like that, what he just said is everybody has a role. It's just like that's just good advice. You understand, it's basically understand your role in life. And the only thing is like he will say that women should be X, they shouldn't be the leaders, they should be the the supportive follower, the supportive person to the husband, to the man, etc., etc. They should raise the kids and do all these things. And those are very traditional, and I don't know what's the best way. I'm not like the most studied on that. I would probably, my innate feeling would be that yeah, the woman should be the more supportive partner. I think there are women who are great at being leaders, clearly. Like I threw out Tulsi Gabbard earlier in the video. I think she's amazing. I think she'd be a great leader. She's just one off the top of my head that I can think of that I'm like, she's awesome. And I would, if I don't live in the States, but I would definitely vote for her to be president. And be the leader of the country. There's individuals on both sides who you can say just cross those boundaries. Like men maybe going more into like women's roles and women going more into maybe traditionally men roles. But that's basically all he's saying. And I think well, at least that's what he's saying right now, basically. I think that's just great advice, and we should all remember that. Like, what is our role in society? What is our role in our family? Or what do we want our role to be? And then strive for those roles. Right? Get good at those roles so that we can fill that position.
What was your father?
He was the greatest man on the face of the planet. But luckily he had me, and now
That's
in
beautiful.
the natural order of the universe, he is gone, and I am here, and I carry his name, and it is my duty to bring honor to him. And this is one of the greatest things about achievement, because achievement honors your ancestors. People talk about my father because of how successful I am, and people will talk about me into eternity, even after my death, because of how successful my son will be.
Will they? I don't know. I think we say that about a lot of people. Like maybe you could say like Genghis Khan, right? Like in these individuals that they do talk about. Because they had such a large impact, or in the States, talk about George Washington. But if you're literally in, I don't know, the Congo or Saudi Arabia, or you're in Russia, you're not really talking about these people. Like, you're not talking about George Washington when you're in the Congo. Like, nobody cares. So I think it really depends, like, how that person has affected your life. And even then, like we can think about so many different individuals who have done things, have invented things, have had interesting impacts on the world, but we really don't talk about them usually, like Albert Einstein, like his name comes up, or Stephen Hawking, who literally just passed away, what was it, like a few years ago. His name comes up sometimes, but if you're like not like, how often do people really talk about Stephen Hawking? Like, I don't know, like hardly ever. I mean, you have to be in like that kind of niche circle. I just feel like people aren't going to be talking about Andrew Tate in 50 years if he's dead in 50 years or whatever. Like, I don't think so. I don't see it. I don't think people are going to be talking about any like me. Any of us. It's just like you would have to do something like you'd have to be like a Genghis Khan where you had like this huge impact on the world, and even then they're going to bring you up. So like not that often. Like it's going to be once in a while your name comes up.
This is the great thing about achievement. It's an honor to your ancestors.
What would he have made of your success, your father?
He would be extremely underwhelmed by it because he always expected it of me. I am Emory Andrew Tate III. I can do whatever I put my mind to. And he would be like, well, of course, you decided you wanted to become the most famous man on the planet. It took you a few months, of course.
Does your mother ever do what my mother does and occasionally go, I think you went too far there?
My mother has absolute trust in my abilities and capabilities. She says, be careful, do your best, but you are the most capable and competent man on the planet. And
that wasn't the question.
That's what she says. She says, be careful.
Does she ever say you shouldn't have said that?
Nah, she knows better than that.
Really?
No, never. She says, just be careful. You know what you're doing. It's kind of hard to argue against me, and this is what my haters seem to struggle with. It's hard to argue against a person who is monumentally successful in every single human metric that can possibly be measured. This is why young men respect me so much.
Would you ever tell your mother what to do?
Quite successful.
You ever tell her what to do?
I don't need to. She's a full-grown woman.
Would you ever tell her what to do?
I would give her my advice if she asked for it.
You say you can't leave the home, you can't drive, all those things you joke about? Or?
I'd give her my opinion. I would say perhaps you should move house now, or perhaps that's not safe, or yeah, I would absolutely, because I'm responsible for her safety. And when you're responsible for somebody's safety, you have an opinion, and you need to have a firm opinion on that subject. So completely. For any woman I'm responsible for, her safety, I will sit and say that's an unsafe thing to do.
How much are you worth?
I'm a billionaire by now.
Dollars or pounds?
About dollars. We're not in pounds yet, but we'll get there.
So what to do?
Yeah, we have a little bit of work to do. But
finally, I know you don't know anything about football and care even less, but greatest of all time, Ronaldo or Messi?
They're both two very hardworking men, and I have absolute respect for anybody on earth who dedicates themselves to this.
Andrew Tate, thank you very much indeed. That's it for tonight. Keep it uncensored like it was tonight. Good night.
Okay, so in this video, I know he likes to, it's called Piers Uncensored. I know he likes to say keep it uncensored. This interview actually did feel more uncensored. His previous interviews with Andrew Tate, specifically the first one, felt kind of censored. So, whatever. Anyways, overall, much better interview. It's more cordial between them. It was more like Andrew got to talk and Piers got to ask questions. So this actually kind of seems like they're a little bit friendly. You know, it wasn't so combative. I wonder if they're friendly in real life now or something. But anyways, put your comments below on what you thought of the video or anything that maybe I talked about, because I think I rambled on a few different things thoughts that I had. And yeah, hope to see you in the next video. Please like and subscribe. All right. Cheers.